once we sort of built in all that extra profit, I was able to exit out of the business. And then for me, it was probably time to move on to something newer and exciting, because that was really a business that I started when I was very young. And by the time I came to sell it, I was 24. I had outgrown it. I wanted to do different things. And yeah, but I learned, like, it was like my business apprenticeship, honestly.
Hey, it's Julian. We're back for another episode of Lost and Founders. And today I've got a good friend and a special guest. Introduce yourself, Matty.
Thanks for having me on, Julian. My name's Matthew Nicholas. I'm a business owner. I own two businesses at the moment. And one of them is Snap Fitness. I'm a franchisee. And my other business is called Greyfield. It's a retail asset management company.
Well, we're going to unpack all of this because I know that this isn't your first sort of venture into business. And obviously you've got two very, very different businesses. You're just an all-round entrepreneur and you love the hustle. But give us the backstory. Like, tell us how you ended up being a business owner at such a young age and, give us the story.
Yeah, no, I mean, probably like a lot of us, we end up in it by accident. I mean, I was 18, fresh out of school, first year uni, studying a Bachelor of Property Economics. And me and my friends used to smoke shisha every day. After uni, after work, we'd get together every night, we'd start smoking. And then as you do when you're young and naive, you think to yourself, it'd be really easy if we started delivering this stuff to people. So my first business was born. It was called Chief Shisha. Started it with my best friend from school.
And just for some background, we were a customer of yours without knowing that it was your business.
That's right. We figured that out much later.
We figured that later.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's funny because at the time when I started the business, it wasn't really a very prominent concept, to be honest with you. It's something big overseas in the Middle East and whatnot. But I think when we started it, there was one other company that was doing it, and we thought, they're not doing a great job of it. Which was really cool because I think it started that way of thinking where you see someone doing something in an industry and you think to yourself, we can come in and do this better, poke holes in the way that they're operating, and it's always a lot easier from the outside. So we went in, we got our hands dirty, and we launched the business, and it just started off, people that we knew, friends of friends, and it really blossomed from there, to be honest. We started like, a pretty cool trend, I think. Shisha wasn't massive when we started it, and I'm pretty confident in saying we probably kicked off a little bit of a trend there, because after we started and we started getting traction, like all of these very similar businesses started popping up everywhere, which helped us, in fact, because it just got more exposure for the idea of shisha delivery, what it was. In case anyone doesn't know what it is, we delivered 7 days a week, 365 days a year, to homes. We delivered shisha to homes the same way that you see it in the restaurant. That's the way that we'd bring it to your home. So it wasn't a big concept in the beginning, but people really warmed to it, especially for social gatherings, midweek, weekends. We didn't close a single day. So yeah, that was my first business.
And how did that all pan out? You end up selling the business?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, ended up selling the business after about 6 years. So by the time we came to sell, I'll backtrack a step before that. We actually did a merger with our biggest competitor.
Okay.
Because I saw that, so they operated heavily in the inner west region, whereas we were more Western Sydney, and they really dominated that side of town, and we dominated the other side of town. And we saw that. I sort of went to them with a proposal that we could find a lot of synergies between our businesses and cut down on a lot of the fixed costs and operate on a lot more efficiency if we got together and started, delivering. We're delivering in the same areas. We're picking up in the same areas. We both have management teams that have to answer calls and do all the coordination and everything. So there was a lot of double handling between the two of our businesses. And we centralized everything into one warehouse, relaunched as a combined brand. And it worked. Like, we had a lot of efficiency. And then once we sort of built in all that extra profit, I was able to exit out of the business. And then for me, it was probably time to move on to something newer and exciting, because that was really a business that I started when I was very young. Yeah. And by the time I came to sell it, I was 24. I had outgrown it. I wanted to do different things. But I learned, like, it was like my business apprenticeship, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, it was good. Did you have you done another business prior to Loan Options, right?
Yes and no. So I did a very similar thing. I'll tell you the story. Actually, I don't think I've told this story before, but when I was like 16, 17 years old, I they put a massive. Actually, this this might actually be. Anyway, I'm going to share it anyway. I'm not going to get in trouble because allegedly this is what I did.
Okay.
And I wasn't selling anything illegal in terms of substance, but you know, the shisha, the tobacco, they put a massive tobacco tax on that. And you could still buy them from overseas and they would come in and they wouldn't have the tax on them at that point. I don't think they'd fully
close that
loophole yet. And so I was buying them for $10 or $15 for 250 gram tubs. And I just one day, and how this happened was I was buying them for personal consumption. We was smoking shisha. It's like big in our family, with gatherings, whatever.
Of course, it's cultural.
Mates come over. Yeah, it's part of our culture, you know. And so one day I went to buy and I was just like, out of curiosity, how much do you pay for each tub? And he's like, oh, it's gone up so much. It's like $60 or $70. And I was like, oh wow, like that's a lot. And I said, what about if I could get them for you for like say $50 a tub? He said, I'll buy every single one off you. Because I think they were selling them for like $100. They were buying them for $70 or whatever. You know? It was right at the beginning where they used to be so easy to get, and now the supply just completely dried up. Yeah. And I said, what about if I could get for $50 each tub? And he said, I'll buy all of them off you. So I started buying more and more and more. And I didn't have a lot of capital, so I was buying a little bit, and then I would call them and go, you want them? Yep. Eventually I was bringing in so many that there was more than they would buy off me. So I went to other convenience stores, and then people started calling me, and I had these grown ass men coming up. Now I was 16 and then I turned 17.
Oh really? You were that young?
Yeah, because when I first started it, I used to have to get my mum to drive me to the convenience stores to sell them.
You could do your L's hours on the way.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got my P's in and I was doing the going to the convenience stores and selling them. So
wow.
So I guess you could say my first business was wholesaling. You know?
Wow, you were really out there hustling, weren't you?
Yeah, and I actually, you know, I didn't think too much of that story until you just said the shisha thing, but I almost, you know, forgot that part of my life. But yeah, what happened was I ended up, all the money I did make, I ended up losing, and that was my first lesson in business. So I started getting, and then there was these grown men coming to my house and buying boxes off me and shit, like, you know, 10, 15, 20 of these tubs at a time.
Right.
And they were telling their other convenience store owner friends and whatever, like, buy from this guy, it's so much cheaper. So I then what happened was I placed a massive order, and around this time they closed the loophole.
Wow.
So then all of it got held up at customs, and they're like, oh, if you want them, you can still have them. Again, it wasn't illegal. I just had to pay the tax on it. Yeah. So again, that's why I was like, I don't know if I can tell this story. It sounds like I'm importing from Colombia or something.
Yeah, honestly,
you know?
that's right.
Anyway, so I was buying, like, you buy them, they're made in the UAE, you're getting shipped over, and then they close the loophole, and they're like, oh, well, if you want to bring them in, there's this tax.
Yeah.
And the tax was way more expensive than what you could buy them at retail from a convenience store.
That's
so
right.
Like,
yeah, it's not feasible.
Nah, that's right. And so I just basically, the profit I did make, I still made some money.
Yeah.
But most of the profit I made, I'd reinvested in that larger load and lost it.
It's like you went all in, and then you came up second best.
And that's why, like, you always, first lesson in business, hedge your bets, you know, diversify your business and hedge your bets.
Yeah.
But that was the first thing. But I didn't actually own my business. I didn't actually own a business in its entirety until Loan Options. So there was a big gap there. I left school. I was studying web and app development. A lot of people heard this story before, but I got into finance broking, and I was surprised by, like, what a great career you could make out of finance broking if you're willing to work hard. There's a very big spectrum between the top broker. There's a very big discrepancy in delta between the very top brokers in the industry and the people who do it as a lifestyle business. You know, there's a really long tail.
Wow.
About half the industry is essentially an also ran, you know, and then the other half of the industry take it as a serious career. And,
yeah, right.
You know, a lot of part-time.
There's a lot of cowboys in that business. Hey, like, a lot of people sort of jump in, jump out, because there's not a huge barrier to entry, right?
That's right. So look, I wouldn't say there's a lot of cowboys. More concerning is, like, there is a big difference in the skill level. Like,
right, yeah.
I could talk to a broker who's in the bottom 50%. Skills, knowledge, expertise. just purely based on the amount of repetitions they've done,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get a great outcome. Or I can talk to somebody who, is a career broker, and the amount of repetitions that they're doing on deals and stuff, and they've got a big team and etc. It's way, way different. The outcomes, the knowledge, the skills is just very, very different.
Yeah, right.
It's night and day.
Okay.
And it's no different to any other industry though, right?
Fair.
There were a lot more cowboys in the finance industry when I first started, especially the cowboys were in dealerships. A lot of that got like regulated to an extent, commission caps and things like that to make sure that people weren't, being put in direct harm from, a greedy person at a car dealership doing finance.
Right.
And so I really loved watching that play out. But the industry has been cleaned up. I've been in the industry now for 15 years. So in that 15 years, a lot, Royal Commission, and ASIC investigations.
It's really heavily scrutinized, the industry now, hey?
It is, yeah, very much.
Which is
so.
a good thing.
Yeah, and there's other things that they brought in, which I think were net positives, like the best interest duty. So, a broker has to act in accordance with the client's best interests. It's illegal for them not to.
Wow.
They can lose their accreditations, be sanctioned, etc. So there's a lot of good things that the industry does now that probably weren't there when I first started. But I thought like, wow, this is an amazing career and you can earn, a great living and you can help lots of clients and you feel really good doing it and you can build a personal brand and, like you can be known as the guy that, and that's what I wanted to do. When I first started, I wasn't trying to build the most advanced tech platform or anything like that. I was trying to build value in my phone number, my phone number is the number that people call when they need help buying a car, equipment, need a business loan, need a personal loan.
Right.
And over time that transformed when I first I was an employee at a business and then I got an opportunity to help start another business and I was going to be a minority shareholder.
Right, yes.
And I was going to earn the right to become a shareholder essentially. And I was like, yep, great. Sounds good to me. I'll work my ass off. Nobody's going to beat me in that regard.
Of course.
So that was when I was a minority shareholder. And but every business I ever worked in, I treated it like my own business.
Yeah.
I always looked at my department. I looked at what the best, person in the team was doing, the best person in that company was doing. I looked at what industry benchmarks were and I said, how can I be the best? And I literally tried to do that. So I never thought of it as like, oh, I'm just an employee.
Yeah.
Every business I worked in, I thought like it was my own business.
You took ownership.
I took ownership, but I also ran it like it had its own P&L. This is how much they pay me.
Yeah.
This is how much revenue I'm generating, and here are any costs involved, and sort of here's what's left over. And for a really long time in my industry, I was on a $38,000 base salary, and I remember and the rest of it was commission based.
Right.
Obviously, rightly so. That's how our industry works. You get paid only if you successfully settle a loan.
Eat what you kill.
Yeah, and I actually love that. I love the fact that our industry is based on that. Like you get accountants, lawyers, you pay for their time, right? They win, they lose, they get paid.
True.
I love the fact that brokers only win if the client wins. And to me, that's always been a model that I love. I know there's some lawyer segments of law like the compensation lawyers and stuff where there is like no win, no fee, and it's more common in that. But I actually really like that model. That model resonates really well with me. If I don't provide value to you, then I cost
suffer.
you nothing.
Yeah,
and I suffer.
That's exactly right.
You have no consequences.
Of course.
Only I do. So that was that was my stepping stone into starting a business. I basically wore every hat in that business. I wore like the marketing hat, I wore the general manager hat, I wore the finance broker hat, I wore the accounts team hat. I did every business development. I was responsible for every single department. And we obviously had team members in each of them, but ultimately we didn't start with team members in each of them. I had to grow the business to the point where we could support
you could employ
hiring
people.
BDMs.
Yeah, of course.
And eventually we got there, but I was still the number one rider. I was wearing many different hats. So, and then ran into some issues scaling that business. And that's when the focus on building, a consumer facing platform came out. And so that's when I wanted to really focus on the technology aspect because I just saw the bottlenecks. You can run a brokerage to a certain level without a lot of technology. You don't need it. because it's very much a people focused business. After you want to get past that level, it's really important to have that investment in tech or to license platforms that can help you automate a lot of stuff.
Right. So that you're able to scale further, right? You're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise, I mean, how many phone calls can you take in a day?
Yeah, of course.
And I was fielding at one point in time, 150 to 200 calls a day.
Wow.
Which is quite a lot.
It's huge.
And then I'd have to do the work associated with all of those calls as well. So I was like I went from, I'm going to grow my phone number to the number one phone number that people ring to how do I get my phone to stop ringing?
Yeah, I've had that experience too.
Yeah. So driving people to a platform, it's like, yeah, no worries. You want a loaner? Here's a platform you can apply online, and then it lands in a queue where our team are going to pick it up and
they can fulfill it that way.
Yeah.
Was it that experience of your phone ringing too much that made you think more about the tech side and systemizing it?
There's a very specific time I remember, like it was yesterday, where somebody rang me at 9:30 and asked me a question. I was like the guy people called if they wanted to know which lender would say yes, you know. And my team and people from outside my business, people from the industry would call me and say, I've got this really tricky deal. Where do I go? And here's the story.
And you'd know it like that.
I would know. I was like a computer, literally. And that was one of my superpowers. I knew product better than anybody else has ever known product. I could recite exact sentences from their credit policy, like word for word. I just memorized everything. And
I love that.
That's the way my brain works. Yeah. I'm fortunate in that way. But so people called me and somebody rang me at 9:30 and said, hey, I've got this, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? I said, I can't actually answer that for you now because it's not in their policy. Let me make some calls and I'll come back to you. So I went to call back when I got the answer from the BDM at the lender at like, I don't know, could have been 3:00. It was later, like early to late afternoon. It wasn't evening and it wasn't lunchtime. It was like about somewhere between 2 and 4:00.
Right.
And I went to go and find the number to call that person back. I didn't have them saved in my phone. And it wasn't there. So that meant that in that time that they called me, 150 calls had been made.
Oh, you couldn't? It was your maximum call log.
Yeah, I maxed the call log. And that was a very specific moment in time. I was like, this is not sustainable. It's not scalable. I need to find a better solution. And I literally just said to myself, like, you've got a monkey brain and you can do this. So surely a computer can do it much better. And that's the story. That's actually the story, the genesis story for Loan Options.
That's awesome.
I started building in a spreadsheet, one axis of all the lender credit policy questions, and then the other axis of all the lenders. And at the time there was about 40. This is 2017. Now there's like 90 plus lenders that, that we use and have integrations with. But that's what made me chase tech as a solution to scaling the business, because now our team could get a scenario. There was an input page. They put all the client inputs and it would tell them exactly which lenders and the reasons why they can go there or couldn't go there, depending on what the situation was. So, but that was my journey. And then I took a big risk. Obviously, there's a long story behind it, but I've told that one 1,000 times. I was a shareholder. I gave back my shares in exchange for removing my non-compete, and I started Loan Options in COVID. So I took about 20 grand out of my super. At the time, you could do that, 2 lots of 10 grand.
Yep.
And I used that money as seed capital to
start the
Loan
business.
Options. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And part of me was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay myself, but my sister and my brother-in-law were employee 1 and employee 2. They were working with me at the previous business, and essentially said, all right, guys, like it might be tough for the first couple of months, but let's see how we go. You guys will eat first. I'll figure things out myself.
Yeah.
But from month 1, we made enough profit to pay everybody and do all that kind of stuff. And then we grew and we grew and we grew. And then the more money we made, the more I kept reinvesting back into technology and making the process better and stuff. And the more money I invested into partnerships and sponsorships and other things that would deliver, a return.
Yeah.
And but that was my journey into owning a business. I started doing, sales to these little grocery stores that would sell, they weren't tobacconists. They were like the mixed business Arab grocers. In Guildford on Excelsior Street and, like Granville and stuff. Yeah. Where I grew up and where I live. That's the story, man. That's like how I got into business. But I was always a really smart kid. I was a very nerdy kid in terms of like, I wasn't nerdy in a sense that, you know, I was still very much into sport. I was very athletic. I played sports growing up, but I always was someone, even in sport, I was like trying to think about like stats and data and like how many, like everything was cerebral for me. Everything was a cerebral endeavor. Like I always was trying to think about the mental aspect or the like things like a chess game, you know, like how do we, you know, unpick this team? Like they've got these strengths, they've got these weaknesses. How do we beat them with
As a kid?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like as a teenager. You
Right.
know? And when I was a kid, I'd be like, I think my one of my uncles or aunties said like, "What's wrong with this kid? Why isn't he like playing with his like the rest of his cousins?" And I was sitting in the corner reading a Harry Potter book, and I was like, the book was heavier than me. You know what I mean? I was a little kid, and yeah. Anyway, so I was always a little bit different as a kid.
Yeah.
But I wasn't antisocial or anything, but I loved reading books. I loved.
You were
learning.
naturally drawn to bettering yourself, curious
Yeah.
about information. That sort of thing,
like
hey?
even in high school, I was obsessed with cars. I learned everything about all the engines. I learned, I was able to, things that I love, I was able to hyperfixate on them and learn everything about them. I have no like mechanical skills or qualifications. My brother was a mechanic, but like I could tell you nearly everything there is. I could name every single part in an engine, how to put it together, how to, you know, all of that stuff. And it's just because I was somebody who loved self-learning. One thing about like when people are teaching you stuff, people learn different ways. I love self-learning because I learn things in the format that I
Can absorb it.
them.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I have taken away in my years is like the self-learning aspect is so important because you get to learn it at your own pace, but you also get to learn it in the format that helps you absorb and retain the info. And so you sell this business, and how long is it? You finished uni now? Or,
Yeah, I finished uni along the way. And then, so basically what happened is, it's funny, like hearing you talk about, you know, your origin and the background and what led you up to Loan Options. It's funny how your prior experiences shape you for your next thing.
Yeah.
And selling that business, like when I sold Chief Shisha, I had 25 staff members, 10 company vehicles, a very complex operation of a business to run, to be honest. There was a lot involved, like you can imagine, from, you know, you have a pickup team, a delivery team, a prep team, management to answer phone calls and coordinate. And there's just so many moving parts. And the one thing I knew coming out of that business is that my next business, I wanted it to have, to not be labor intensive and to have low operational complexity. And that's how I landed on the gym idea. I was doing a boxing session with my boxing trainer at the time, and he owned a Snap Fitness. And we were just training in the gym one day, and I had sold my business like the week before. I hadn't even slept on it yet. And he's like to me, "What are you going to do next?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "You should open a gym." I said, "All right, no problem." So he put me on the phone to the Gabe, the national franchise manager of Snap, a very good friend of mine. And 3 days later, I bought 3 territories. So you buy exclusive territories to open up a gym in. And 3 days later, I was just like, let's go, because I knew it fit my mandate perfectly. Low labor intensive, like you only need 2 or 3 staff, no matter how busy the gym is, within reason. One of the, like a Snap Fitness gym. And, you know, low operational complexity, because once you open the gym, like really, you go to the gym, it's self-service, right?
Yeah.
You don't really need to speak to anyone unless you're signing up or you're canceling, or unless, you know, here and there you might need something, but it's pretty minor. It's a self-service product, right? So as long as you build a nice gym, an inviting fit out.
You keep it clean. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. You keep it clean, well maintained, make sure everything's always working. I knew that it suited my skill set, which was, you know, generally in marketing and sales. So I felt confident to be able to train the team in sales. And I was really confident that I was like able to market it, because I was always really comfortable with the marketing aspect of Chief Shisha, for example. But to then go and balance that, I had to go and run a really complex operation at the same time.
Yeah.
So I told myself, if I have a product there that's already set up and all I have to do is market it and sell it, that's like a dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt it felt like a breath of fresh air going into it.
But I want to talk to you about a few things, because what you just mentioned there, I think that self-awareness of like what your strengths are. I think so many people who get into business, I don't think they have the awareness of that. And the fact that you did it, and at such a young age as well, is absolutely fantastic. Because I think when business owners are doing their best work, they're working on the things that they like, number one, and then also number two, things that they, are their core competencies or skill set, right?
Yes.
So they have to like it and have to be really good at it. And if you give a business owner those two things, or someone who's got the true entrepreneurial spirit, they're going to thrive, you know. Get the admin away from them.
That's it.
Get all the boring shit away from them. Let them do the things that actually move the needle, which usually in any business, not just a gym, usually marketing and sales is what moves the needle.
The money needle, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of businesses are like, oh, cut costs, blah, blah, blah. And like trying to find these, but for every dollar you cut, you're saving $1. You know, if you can create a sort of like a force multiplier with marketing and sales, you can easily generate $3 more of revenue for every $1 that you can cut, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I always try to have an abundance mentality with.
Yeah.
I don't obsess over the cost. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm efficient, I'm not wasteful, but I'm always abundance mentality to like, instead of worrying about how do we cut costs further, how can we grow the revenue? I feel like people don't look at that enough. They get really fixated on, oh, it's costing me too much. Well, let's look at the top line. Like, where can we get revenue to? You know, but on your point regarding skills, like I love what you're saying. You're speaking my language, because it wasn't always like that. I remember after a couple of years, I was self-assessing, and I was thinking to myself, like, what are my skills? I don't really know what they are, because you go through business the first couple of years, especially when you're that young. Like, I started out at 18. It wasn't very well thought through. You haven't thought about your strengths and weaknesses just yet. And I would have been 21, 22, and I thought to myself, you know, what am I good at? And I wasn't sure yet. And then once I figured it out, I said to myself, you know, I probably am good at marketing and branding, and I'm pretty good at sales, because I feel like I have a good attention to detail when it comes to scripting and, you know, tonality on the phone and that sort of thing. And just all those little details came naturally to me. And then I wasn't amazing at it at the time, but once I established that to myself, I was then able to go work further on it, because I told myself that's my skill.
Yeah.
And that really helped me. And then the years following that, I accelerated in my skill set so much in those departments, in marketing and in sales, that like I felt towards the end of the business that my skills are wasted on running a business like that. Like, I felt like I could use it in a bigger, like fish in a bigger pond.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I've heard some of the things that you've done in terms of your marketing and sales initiatives to drive member growth and stuff like that in Snap. And I don't want to forget Greyfield. So we're going to get to Greyfield.
We'll get to that,
But tell us about some of the activities. Tell us the ones that you're happy to share, because obviously, you know, if it's a secret sauce thing, then don't share. But I think, like, for those who are listening, you know, it'd be good to show them some specific examples of things that you did that none of the rest of the Snap Fitness, because correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it one of the best, or still one of the best performing regions? And you said you got 3. So is there 3 gyms?
No, so I've got 3 territories. I've got a second one opening in about 3 to 4 months.
Yep.
I bought 3 territories. I've got 1 developed, and the second one will open this year. So right now I've got 1.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was nominated for Rookie Club of the Year in the year that we opened in the Snap Fitness Australia network. And in terms of revenue, it'd definitely be top 10. So top 10, I'm not going to say top 5, but it's up there. Like we sell at a really high yield, and we've got really strong membership base, but I'm pretty open, to be honest, in terms of marketing and that sort of thing. Like, especially in my network with other Snap Fitness franchisees, it's strength in numbers, you know, the better that we all perform together, the better that, you know, my clubs are going to perform as well.
Strengthens your point about the abundance mindset. And I'm the same. People ask me like, oh, why do you publish some of your numbers on LinkedIn and stuff? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, I want to help everybody. Like, somebody books a 30-minute meeting in my calendar, I'll give them 45 minutes. No worries. Whatever they need, whatever I can do to help, within reason, obviously. But, you know, people who are genuinely curious are usually the right kinds of people you want to share that information. It's different when you have like competitors who are sneaking around, and like some of our competitors, they'll go and ask all the lender BDMs about our business and what's going on there. And, like, just pick up the phone and call me and ask me, and I'll tell you.
You probably share it.
Yeah, I would share it, and I have shared. Like, I've bumped into some of them at events, and they're like, "Oh, so like, how do you do this?" And I'm like, "I'm happy to answer these questions, but are you going to tell me what you do as well?"
Yeah, fair.
Like,
it's value exchange.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And oftentimes they want to take but not give.
Yeah,
so
fair.
Those people, I have a rule: if you're going to take and not give, then I'm not going to share anything with you, because I know what you're doing. You know? And at the end of the day, we have more things that I would consider unique in the way that we do things versus other businesses. But that cements your point about the abundance mentality. So give us some examples.
Yeah, I'd love to. And I think just to finish on that point, like, they'd have a hard time emulating you anyway, to be very fair. You give them all your ideas to go and emulate what you're doing. If you're at the pointy edge of your craft, people struggle to emulate you anyway. So,
But also some of them couldn't mimic my delivery anyway, even if they tried, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So if I'm doing something or I'm presenting myself out in the market a certain way, those people couldn't do that. They don't have my network. They don't have, they're not perceived by the industry the same way that I'm perceived by the industry. So there's certain things that they could, even if I gave them a blueprint and a step-by-step, they still couldn't execute on because like it would look so ridiculous coming from them.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
yeah, it's a liberating way to think, to be honest, once you let go of that. But a few of the things that we do at the gym is, so my approach from the beginning is it's hard enough to go to the gym as it is, right? It's hard enough to walk through those doors. Everyone has bad days. You know, most days people don't really want to go, but you go anyway, right? So I tried to start thinking to myself, how can I make the atmosphere and the environment of the product itself a little bit more enjoyable, where their mental association with the gym itself isn't one that's serious or negative, right? So we started implementing things like monthly challenges. So every single month since the day we opened, we run a monthly challenge. That's usually not skill-based, so it doesn't exclude the people that aren't the most fit. And it might be, you know, mini golf, like how many shots in a row can you get in the mini golf patch, or how many shots in the mini basketball hoop can you get in a row, and you can have a try every single day for the entire month. And at the end of the month,
gamified it.
We've gamified it, exactly right. And at the end of the month, there's always a really cool and exciting prize. So some examples of what we give away: PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Apple Watches. We gave away a Bali holiday, flights and accommodation. We gave away $1,000 cash. Like just every single month, it's something exciting. It's not nothing small either. Like we're giving away something significant, and we don't get any extra members out of that. But what it does is it makes our atmosphere and our culture of our gym a little bit more exciting. And we'd have people coming, scanning in every single day just to do the challenge and go home. So, and they do, because they really participate. And I get the team to really drive participation in that as well, because it's great for retention.
Yeah. So, I was going to say the key thing that I think that would drive it, probably, you know, when you're taking people on tours and stuff, it may increase the likelihood of them to sign up.
It does.
But it's probably more going to move the needle as far as retention and like preventing customers from churning.
Yeah, of course. And what, like the other, in the way that it's marketing is that, you know, a big source of sales is referrals, and you have to have something worth talking about if you want people to tell people about it, right? And we're trying to penetrate like a local catchment, a community. No one's going to drive more than 7 minutes to a gym. So everyone that lives locally to the area is going to tell their friends and family. And if there's something worth talking about, well, then when they want to come and sign up for a gym when the time comes, they're going to go to the cool gym that's interesting and got, you know, all the exciting stuff going on. And the same thing along those lines to build up the product and the culture is we do quarterly member nights, and we hold these massive community days where we'll get mechanical bulls, free food stands, we'll get popcorn machines, and just like make it really exciting. We'll get a DJ and hold like a whole day for free, and the whole public's welcome. So we open it up to the whole community. You can come in that day, train for free, get a part of it, get amongst it all, and you can sign up on that day with the sale that we offer. So it does sort of relate back to getting members in the door. And then just like in terms of social media, like we have the biggest social media following of any Snap Fitness in Australia, because we really sort of took leadership on the content side of things. We really were sort of early to leveraging TikTok when a lot of other gyms probably weren't as early onto it. Instagram Reels, and just really taking a good, having a really comprehensive content strategy. Because I feel like Instagram, although it's simple, it's a digital shop front when you're a physical place. And when someone wants to go to a restaurant that they've never been to before, the first place they're going to look at is your Instagram, because they want to be able to see inside and think. They judge you based on what your content is, to see what's the atmosphere at this place like, what's the culture like what can I understand before I go in there, because it's a closed door gym. You got to ring the doorbell to get in. It's a bit scary for people and intimidating. So you really got to
let them peek inside without actually going there first. Right?
Yeah.
And that I think the perfect way to describe that is exactly what you did there, calling it like a shop front or a window front, you know. And I think when people get social media wrong is when they're just trying to sell the whole time.
Yes.
Whereas in social media, I think social media done well has a nice balance of like, you know, behind the scenes, talking to this, like let them meet some of the staff and like let them hear the staff talking and how friendly they are, and like do a bit of tour around the gym and stuff. But just, you know, have some offers and have some things that, like, you know, if they see 5 pieces of content that's like, oh wow, there's this challenge or there's this cool thing happening, or like, look at this. It might be some instructionals as well, like being a gym, like, hey, like for the days that you can't make it into Snap for our members, like here's a quick program or whatever that is. And then you might have a special offer and stuff, but they've seen 5 pieces of value first, and then you have the ask.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, to be honest, because you've got to earn the right to sell to them, right?
Yeah.
And if you're always selling, people just go blind to it. They stop watching your content. Right. They stop engaging. And I think one thing that we nailed from the beginning in terms of social media is that we understood what are our content pillars. We need a little bit of informative, probably need a little bit of inspiring because we're a gym, a little bit of entertaining and like funny content. It doesn't necessarily even have to be funny. It can just be engaging and interesting, like behind the scenes content. And we understood that early on. So I was always drilling home on we need to diversify our content and not just sort of go one route. But in terms of other marketing methods, if I was to give one key thing, the main thing that I did is just do lots of different touch points. And I'm a big believer that in order to transact with you, people have to see you in a few different places. Because if you're just sort of on their phone screen, you're probably not real yet until they sort of see you in person. You think, oh, that's that place I've seen on my phone all the time. You drive past the billboard, for example, and you think, yeah, now it's a bit real to me. And then they drive past you. So for example, like with Chief, I did a lot of guerrilla marketing. So I'd put up like a stack of Corflue signs on telegraph poles all throughout Sydney. And you drive past them at a red light and you just catch your eye. And I did that with the gym. We had a VMS board out the front, it's been there since the day we opened.
You had, sorry,
a VMS board. So do you know the electronic traffic control boards?
Yeah. Yep.
Just putting the sale on there every single day, changing the message. Sometimes it might just be like, have a nice day from Snap Fitness. Little things like that. We did flyers on cars at the local Westfield, flyers on cars at the local Macca's, Bunnings, Aldi, just everywhere, just relentless. Local influencer campaigns.
I love what you're saying here, because the thing is, there's no silver bullet, yeah?
That's it.
This is the thing that people don't understand about marketing and sales. Like, what market? They ask me like, what's your best marketing? Blah blah blah. I'm like, all of it, brother.
Yeah, that's it.
All of it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Oh yeah. We'll do every form of marketing that you could possibly think of. We're going to be doing that. There's some more traditional legacy ones that we kind of stay away from, and it's just because it doesn't lean into our business. Our business is a digital business, but every form of digital marketing that can be there, even physical marketing that encourages people to scan a QR code and then take it from a physical to a digital world. But there's no silver bullet. You got to play in all of them. You got to try. You got to be able to track the performance of some.
Yes.
Some marketing methods don't have an ability, or a really good ability to track performance. So you've got to know your numbers and understand if there's a lift in organic after let's say a billboard. Like billboard went live on this date. Did we see an increase in organic traffic or and then have things like, how did you hear about us? And a lot of people just go, how did you hear about us, and give them one option. Let them tick a number of options, because they probably saw the flyer on the window and then saw the electronic screen and then saw the community day. And it was all of those things that contributed to that one membership being signed up.
That's it.
So
yeah.
You can't, in the e-commerce space, there's this like first click, last click, messy middle.
Right.
It's harder for businesses, like service businesses, to really understand that journey. Probably even more so to an extent where you, like with your business, because eventually they're probably just going to turn up one day and sign up.
They just walk in. Yeah, they're ready to go.
And so, when you get that face-to-face interaction, like if you ask them, like, where are all the touch points that you made you come here? And you might not have seen any of your ads, and their friend trains here.
That's it.
Or, whatever, their colleague at the office trains there or somewhere. Because I feel like gym is one of those things where some people can go and get it done by themselves.
Yeah.
Put their headphones in, do it. But sometimes, if there is a bit of gym anxiety, and I know people who are super confident, they get gym anxiety. I'll tell you the truth right now. I didn't go to a gym to like lift weights and for the longest time, because I actually don't enjoy it.
Really?
I enjoy sport. So like I played rugby league growing up. I loved the team atmosphere. I loved all of that. I really enjoyed it. I played OzTag. I played obviously rugby league, like tackle. I played touch footy. I played soccer. I played cricket. I played every sport you could possibly think of, because I just loved playing sport. As I got older, opportunities for sport became less and less. And so I took up jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu for me was like the same kind of camaraderie that I got from a team sport, because it's like a class environment, and you got colleagues, but you're also like sparring with them as well. And so for me, like I would go to a gym and I would spend 10 or 15 minutes of a gym just thinking about what sets I'm going to do and which muscle groups are going to work out. Some people aren't good at that stuff. I like when I go to a class, when I used to go to rugby league training or I go to jiu-jitsu class, the coach says, this is what we're doing.
That's right.
I don't like to think. I think all day and I make decisions all day in my business. So if I have to think again here, it becomes cumbersome.
Right.
So there's an element of like people that there is we'll do it together. Like I'll go with a friend or, I'll go with a mate who can exercise with me, or a colleague or whatever that can meet like the same or similar gym schedule that I can. Yeah. So,
No, so many, to be honest, I go to other gyms as well to train sometimes. And I remember I went recently a couple of months ago to a new gym I hadn't been to before. And I felt a little bit nervous going there beforehand. Like, I'm not exempt to it either. You go into a new space, you've never been in there before, you don't know any of the people, you're going by yourself, you feel a little bit anxious naturally. You're just human at the end of the day. So yeah, it's about reducing those barriers and making it sort of a little bit more welcome if you have a mate there, to make that transition a little bit easier and make people feel a little bit more welcome, that it's not a scary or intimidating atmosphere. Reducing that stigma to be able to get people in the doors really helped for us anyway. But yeah.
And how long have you been in the first Snap Fitness store?
3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah. So
wow.
So our third birthday.
Yeah, amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
And how did Greyfield come? And are there any other ventures that you got going on?
No, that's it. I've tried to less is more in a way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to focus in. Greyfield came after Snap, and that sort of happened very organically. I think like it was very much so around then. I mean, it didn't come after Snap. It was around the same time, but actually kicking it off and, treating it as a full-time gig was just after opening the doors of Snap. Because in the early days, I just really focused in on learning that business before I turned my attention to Greyfield. And with Greyfield, I think that the main thing was a friend of mine, Charbel, who's my business partner, we did a deal for a client where we went in and we told them, we'll reposition your asset. So just a bit of context on,
give the background. Cause
I don't want to sort of go on about the origin. I should probably explain what the business is and, what we do. So with Greyfield, it's basically commercial property agency, but we're like a huge disruptor to the space in the way that we're going about executing for clients. So my background's in property economics, graduated from UTS, and my brain is all, because it's a valuation course as well. So I've always had the valuation brain. And retail property, so we're talking shopping centers, large format retail, so like your bulky goods showroom type of tenancies and that sort of thing, drive-through, petrol stations, that sort of thing. That's our core market. That's what we work on. And we'd go into assets and we'd say to people, we can reposition your commercial asset and add value to it. It's underutilized currently. You're not getting the maximum rent. You might not have a national blue chip tenant in there. We have demand from national tenants in your area. We think that we can, reposition your asset, change the rent from, say, for example, $300,000 a year, which is what you're currently getting, to $400,000 a year by, a few strategies, a bit of a cosmetic uplift, getting the right tenant in there, paying a bit better money. And it was really well received early on by the market, because in reality, we can prove very clearly to our clients our return on investment for them. Because if I get an extra $100,000 a year for a client, that's essentially $2 million in valuation that I've created them in equity. A lot of people would know it as. So in essence, what we do is we asset manage and we lease. And we only do that for retail properties, but in particular, like we won't do your strip shop retail, for example, your local corner store by itself. We only do multi-tenanted assets, where it's more so like shopping centers anchored by a supermarket, or on the other hand, large format retail, which is like a homemaker center where you've got your bulky goods sort of tenants, or alternatively what we call retail convenience, which is, you might have a service center with a drive-through, a petrol station, and, like a food tenant, for example, those type of complexes. And the reason that we do work on that is because that's sort of where our skill set lies, my business partner and I, and that's how it originated very naturally. So we actually started out, the beginning of the business was we repositioned a 2,000 square meter showroom on the Great Western Highway for a client. And they had a struggling tenant in there paying crappy rent. They were massively in arrears. And we went to they sort of came to us, and I said to them, yeah, we can do this. We do it all the time. We hadn't done it before, and but we had the knowledge to execute. We were confident. Like, we were in the buyer space, so we were buying assets for clients at the time. My business partner and I, retail assets. So we understood it, but we hadn't fully executed on the vision. And we went in there and we said to them, look, we think that we can add a lot more value here. There's demand for tenants. What we'll do is we'll do a bit of a cosmetic uplift to the property. You've got plenty of parking. You've got the exposure. We've got tenant demand that want to be in the area, which we did the research sort of at the same time. And then we said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We'll exit the current tenant. They're struggling. They don't really want to be there anyway. We'll split it in half, 1,000 square meters each, so we can get an uplift in the square meter rate. So we can get more dollars for less space. And that way we can add the value at the end, because we're going to achieve in total a higher rent. So that was our first reposition. And basically since then, we just created this business called Greyfield, which the word itself actually means an underutilized retail property that's ripe for uplift. So my business partner came up with the name, and it's so true to the core.
We've heard of Greenfield.
Correct.
Yeah,
it's an urban planning term.
And then there's
brownfield. Yeah,
and then Greyfield. Yeah,
you're in the property space.
Oh no, it's just I've heard the terminology before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's greenfield sites, brownfield sites, and Greyfield is terminology for this. And it's just since then we've stuck true to the core of what we do. We haven't got involved in any other asset classes. Like, generally the standard is that, you know, commercial agencies sort of do everything for you, industrial, commercial. They'll do your little strip shop retail. They'll do everything for you, but we've just stuck true to what we do, and we say no to a lot that we don't do, and we've just stuck to it the whole time. And since then, we've grown the business. We've got a team now, and we're hiring, you know, top tier A-grade talent in the industry. Everyone that works with us has transferable skills. They've all worked on shopping centers, and now it's just about really building out the team to be able to go and execute at scale. So it's an exciting business, and we're disrupting the space, I should say, as well. Is that we're strictly off market. See, the traditional method is that you go into an asset, you're an agent, you put an ad up on the internet, and you put a for lease sign at the front of the shop. And what do you attract? You get your mums and dads, you get, you know, your everyday independent businesses, which is all well and good, but that's not in the best interest of the landlord. And we came in and we said, this is where all the problems are. All the problems on these assets is because are these smaller tenants on crappy rents that are independents, that don't have experience in business, causing all the issues. They're the ones in their ears. They're the ones that you have to lock out. You know, they're the ones that cause all the trouble. And we flipped it on its head and we said, all right, we're going strictly off market, and our mandate is to build the database of the top 2,000 blue chip national brand tenants in Australia. And our goal is to do one thing: build relationships with these 2,000 people and no one else, and understand their growth plans. Where do they want to scale out to? Which areas and which catchments are they unrepresented in? And we'll then go to the landlords and plug their holes and fulfill vacancy or reposition for the landlords. So we're the first agency to do strictly off market, to be honest, especially in leasing and asset management.
Mate, that's amazing. Well, it sounds like a much more complicated business than Snap Fitness.
Very.
But how are you finding the context switching between the two?
Yeah, no, it's good. The way that I've sort of put my mind at ease with it is that obviously, you do have to switch between the two. And it's been a process to learn how to get the most out of myself. But what I do now is I work on everything in projects. So whereas before I was sort of jumping a lot between the two, a task on Snap, a task on Greyfield, whereas now I was like, all right, I've been really strong with delegating firstly and building out the infrastructure. I've got a virtual assistant, an executive assistant, and I've delegated fully and given trust out to my management team at Snap. And I've got an asset management team and a leasing team in Greyfield as well. So really, I don't have a day-to-day role in either of my businesses. So then that allows me to focus on the a series of projects that I've outlined that are going to move each business forward. And at any one point in time, I try to focus on one project at a time for each business. And until I've fulfilled it, I won't move on to the next.
Yeah, wow.
And it doesn't mean that I'm not working on one project in Snap and one project in Greyfield, but that project, I'm only ever working on one at a time. And that allows me to sort of, really ingrain myself in the details of that project, because I feel like that's when you get the best out of yourself, because you're able to dive into the ultimate details of what you're really working on at the time. And when it's just one thing, you can go to the pointy edge of what you're trying to figure out, implement it into the business, fulfill that task, and sort of move on to the next.
Well, there's definitely a lot of productivity studies that show how bad context switching is. It takes your brain a lot of time to reboot again and go, oh, what was I working on here? And what's the, like, when you can stay focused on one single project for a long period of time, you get so much fucking work done, man. So I really like how you've structured that. I think there's a lot that people can learn from that if they've got multiple businesses. But even if it's not multiple businesses, it could be multiple departments within a business. Just go, okay, this month I'm going to embed myself in sales. This month I'm going to embed myself in admin and support. This month I'm going to embed myself in marketing. This month, and you just go from, tech or whatever. Just go from one sort of project that you've got that you think is the lowest hanging fruit in the business at any one point in time. Man, there's so much wisdom. I'm so obviously, I'm a fan, mate. We've had a couple of chats before, and I think you're one of the most promising young entrepreneurs from Western Sydney, and I'm excited to see where you go and where you take both of these businesses and stuff. But what do you do outside of the two businesses you run? Like, how do you stay sane?
Yeah, that's a good point. I struggle with that sometimes, to be honest, because I feel like business runs through my mind a lot, and it's something that I'm naturally very curious about. Like, it almost is a hobby in itself for me. I don't know if you find the same thing, but
yeah, I definitely agree that the people who seem to be doing the best are often people who really don't see it as like a separate thing. Like when people talk about like work-life balance, and I think Jeff Bezos talks about work-life unity. Right. And to me, like, loan options is part of my life. Yeah. It's not like I get every second day someone's pitching me a new idea and they want me to get involved and they give me this and they give me that. I'm just like, I say no so much. Unless it advances loan options forward, I'm like, I'm not interested in it.
I love that. Yeah.
So, but it's like, yeah, you have to live and breathe it. And look, my wife gets it. And, I do have hobbies. I play golf on Sundays with my brothers, and jiu-jitsu is a hobby for me. But none of them sort of take priority over loan options, if that makes sense. Like my brothers, they're in the building and construction industry, and if they finish job sites early, like, all right, come play golf. I'm like, mate, I'm in meetings all day. I'm not coming to play golf with you. So loan options is always number one, and then then all the hobbies come second. But of course, separate to all of that, my family is the most important. My wife and kids.
That's right.
And my brothers and sisters and my mum, and so. But yeah, I find that having an outlet is good. Doesn't matter, as long as it's a productive outlet. And that's not sort of toxic for business owners. I think, like, if they can have something that's not destructive, and ideally it's something that's semi-cerebral as well. That's why golf is a strategy game, and it's about shot minimization. It's not about like who's the most athletic. There's 80-year-olds on the course that will whoop the fuck out of me, and that's because like they're not hitting as far as me, but they're hitting straighter than me, and they're chipping on and getting it to a distance where it's an easy one part instead of what I do. And, obviously there's a skill gap there, but, for me, that part of it is very interesting because it allows my brain to work on new and unique problems that often, when you've been in, like, my business has been going for over 5 years now. So sometimes it feels like when you're approaching a problem, maybe there's no new thoughts there because
you're so right.
You've seen, it's all like variations of the same problem, So having something outside of, the business actually allows you to approach problems differently in your business.
I love that. To be honest, you sort of take yourself out of that mode of thinking, get your mind fixated on something else, and you can come back with some more clarity. Yeah. It's something, I love that. To be honest, you've inspired me to be more aggressive with finding some better hobbies. But to be honest, it's something that I'm still struggling with, if I'm honest, having lots of hobbies outside of business. But like, for example, some things that I love the UFC. Me and my friends love watching it. It's something that, I take a lot of inspiration out of, even for business, to apply it to, because I love that energy of fighting and the mentality and the strategy. But UFC is huge. Rugby league, like yourself, I grew up playing rugby league my whole life since I was young. Obviously not anymore. So sport is massive. But one thing that I get a lot of sort of creative outlet, and it gives me a way to stay sane, is I do a lot of writing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, which is, it sounds sort of a bit like I'm a Fruit Loop, but
Not at all, man.
I find that like it's a really nice creative outlet just to get your thoughts on a page. And there's no rules with it. I write whenever I feel like I need to. If my mind's feeling cluttered, if I'm feeling inspired, if I want to, because when I start writing, my creativity flows, and I feel like I can get more thoughts out of what I'm writing, and I get more ideas. So writing's a big one for me, and it's just self-writing. I don't, write and put it anywhere. Just write, which
Make sure you're saving all of this stuff. And I say that because like at a certain point in time, for good reasons or for bad reasons, you're going to want to reflect on where you're at, at this point in your life.
Yes.
I think like a lot of people ask me why I don't post a lot on Instagram. I post, semi-regularly on LinkedIn.
You do.
But on Instagram, I just do a lot of stories. Like I don't post a lot. They're just like lots of stories. And we're like, why do you do that? And the reality of it is like, I'm just scrapbooking my life. That's for me is that outlet. So like every now and again, I'll go back and look at what I was doing this time 5 years ago, or this time 3 years ago, or, when I think about a point in my life and I was like, what was I going? What was I doing? What was I thinking? I can go and look at those stories and like almost how I've documented things. And so I'm really doing it for myself, but
That's right.
I started doing it and then people started, engaging with it and love it. Like I have a pretty unique personality. So people either get me or they don't.
Yeah.
And I don't really give a fuck either way. But so from my point of view, I was like, I started doing it and it was a way to document things, no different to the way some people journal and stuff.
Yeah.
And, at a certain point in time, I've been able to look back at certain points of my life and, and sort of be inspired by the little savage I was, or look for hope or look for anything, or just
awesome.
Make me understand how far I've come. Because like, that's one thing as a business owner is like, we always have these high expectations, like move forward, increase revenue, do
That's
this,
right.
do that, grow the team, and we never actually, or not enough. We don't look at how far we've actually come. And I feel like there was a moment where I sort of was reading something and it was talking about how important it is for business owners to celebrate milestones.
Yeah.
And it's like there were milestones that our business hit where I was like high five, and then like 5 minutes later I'm like,
Move on.
"Oh, let's move the goalposts."
Next, yeah.
And I think that's actually destructive. And there's evidence to suggest that at a psychological level that's destructive.
Right.
Destructive because
Yes.
you need the dopamine hit, which makes you supercharged for the next goal that
Couldn't
you set.
agree more. Yes.
So you need to actually celebrate them. And I've gotten better. And it's not like because I want to celebrate, but it's like, I feel like if you don't, then you can never reach a point where you're satisfied with anything. And so I didn't want to be that textbook example of people that have the success, they build wealth for their family, they do all these things and they're still miserable inside. So I'm fortunate that I'm not a materialistic person. Don't get me wrong. I like cars and I like watches and I like all those things, but none of them, I never rely on those things to give me happiness. The happiness has to come from like a level of purpose and fulfillment that I have in my own life and in my business.
Right.
But yeah, I think like it is really important to look back very briefly. You don't have to like high five yourself for too long, but look back and go, you know what? If I told that version of myself 3 years ago or 5 years ago that I'd be here today,
Yes.
he'd be fucking so proud of me. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I think it's important to do as a business owner, because 5 years from now, you might be even further along and, but business is ruthless, man. Maybe you're not,
Yeah.
so you at least got to celebrate those milestones as they come. You may not get another opportunity to do it. So
How do you do it though, out of curiosity? Because for myself, like, and I think you're very similar in the way, like I don't really drink alcohol,
me
for
either,
example.
yeah.
So it's like the first thing that comes to your mind, celebrate a milestone, let's go out for a drink,
Yeah. And a lot of people associate that with like the drink. They can't celebrate unless they're drinking. But
Yeah.
like for me, the celebration has never been about the drink. And, if I'm at a friend's wedding or something, like I might have a drink and in honor of, them getting married or something like that. But it's almost never that I drink. That's the answer. How we celebrate, I would say like we like to do team dinners and stuff like that.
I like that.
If people want to drink, they can, but we're going and enjoying a nice meal together.
It's more about the
sitting down.
togetherness. Hey,
Yeah,
I like that a
100%.
lot. That's cool.
We might go and do another type of activity, you know, whether it's go-karting or like, you know, whatever, but like we're doing something together.
Yeah.
We're creating memories, good memories that are attached to this point in time and this milestone. And people ride the high, man. You know, they ride the high. Like you create this level of euphoria that like, wow, we hit the milestone. We got the, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, like you've created an experience around that achievement. Hey,
yeah. And if people want to drink, they can. I'm not a person to judge.
No, of course, but that
drinking for some people is. I've seen some people that are far less enjoyable to be around when they're not drinking.
Yeah.
And so for those people, I'm like, I can see why you drink.
Yeah, maybe we should give you a couple drinks. Yeah,
I can see why you drink. You know, but and for some people, it's just about taking the edge off, and for others, it's a very different thing. And whatever, like each to their own.
Yeah, exactly.
I've made these life decisions because I think that it's going to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of my goals and things like that. And it doesn't add value to me. I might get a bit more giggly or whatever. Like, you know, maybe I'm more pleasant to be around when I'm drinking. But the reality of the situation is like, I don't feel great like after it. Like I feel a difference in my mental sharpness for like a week, sometimes even up to 2 weeks later.
Couldn't agree more.
And so it doesn't add value to me. For me, that's not a thing that I want to continue doing. It doesn't mean that I've attached my identity to it so much that like I can't enjoy a friend's wedding, and like literally this is hopefully a once in a lifetime thing for them, and I want to be there and show them that I want to enjoy the moment with them.
That's nice.
So yeah, pretty much weddings or really major, you know, call it events or, you know, engagements, stuff like that. Even engagements I probably won't drink, but like major life moments for people, it's kind of like a thing that like, they know that I don't drink, so when I do drink, it's special to them.
That's
as well.
right, exactly.
So special because, you know, I'm doing that, but also it's special to them because they know that like they mean a lot to me, and I'm taking a break from my self-imposed alcohol ban. So but yeah, and that's it. But I think like my favorite thing to do is to take the team out and do a nice big team dinner or something like that, a really nice restaurant, and just let everybody enjoy the food, enjoy the moment. Like that to me is a really great way to celebrate. The catch-22 is, you know, some businesses only do those team events when things are going really well, and then as soon as things get a little bit tough, they forget to do them, and what happens is that the glue that, you know, or the morale that holds the team together starts to deteriorate, and then it, you know, they start to experience, as soon as the going gets tough, they start to experience turnover in their staff and things like that. So I think not every month that you know things aren't going well, because like you can't be seen to be celebrating, you know, poor performance.
Yeah, fair.
But also sometimes you need to just understand that what is needed right now at this point in time to stop any sort of negative, like downward spiral is like, let's just go on outside of hours. Let's go and enjoy a dinner together. Yeah. Maybe it's not at the best restaurant, but it's like somewhere nice enough where we can just go, you know what, there's a tough month, dust ourselves off, let's move forward.
Yeah, and they happen.
Yeah, and that's business, right? Yeah. There's seasonality, there's all kinds of market conditions that are outside your control.
True.
I think that's the area some business owners forget, is like they're wondering how to stop the rot, and they've got people leaving because the going got tough. And then they're like, well, you know, how did this all go wrong? But it's like, we only ever celebrated, and I wouldn't say you're celebrating if you take the team out. It is like a team bonding thing. Like sometimes team bonding is needed. In professional sports teams, when things aren't going well for the professional sports teams, sometimes they need a weekend away, or like a few nights away from the noise, away from everything else, and realize that we still have ask honest questions. Do we still have each other's back? Yeah. If the answer is yes, fucking no problem. We'll go back and we'll pull out the swords and let's go. You know, let's do it. But if there's a sentiment in the team where, you know, here's the thing. No one wants to be part of a losing team. That's the reality of it. Right. And so as soon as the team starts to feel like a losing team, people start jumping ship and they get antsy and they want to go somewhere else, or the grass might be greener somewhere else, or they think it might be. So yeah, I think you need to remind people that they are winners. Like in your team, I'm sure, like if you hired, if you hired them for a reason, usually don't get me wrong, there's some exceptions that people don't work out, but like
Yeah.
if you hired them, if you followed a good process, these people are good people, and you just need to remind them that they're winners. Sometimes the only thing that they've lost is confidence.
So
That's
true.
it. They lost none of the skills. Sometimes it's like because they lost confidence, they started to overcompensate in phone calls, and you just remind them, hey, like you're overselling here. You sound a bit desperate, man. Like I always tell them that the way they should be talking to clients on the phone is like they are so blessed and so lucky that they inquired through us, because like they came to the right place.
Yeah.
They could have gone to the 22,000 other brokers, right, that are in the industry. They came to us, and like they should be happy and thankful that they did, because we're going to actually take care of them.
I love that.
So one of our staff members just sent me an email. He's like, hey, what do you think of this post? Like, am I missing anything? And I had a look at it. He got the client a quote, and it was a very aggressive quote. Like it was really good. And then somebody at a family barbecue said, oh, no, trust my broker, blah, blah, blah. That broker just took his application and submitted it to a lender without disclosing a quote to him. And the quote was initially a couple of $100 a month more expensive, with a way shitter lender, no offense. But, the lender that we got for him, the approval and went through all the quotes was like, a tier 1 lender.
Yeah.
So either this broker doesn't have access to that lender, or they don't have the relationships inside that lender to get it across the line like we do.
Yeah.
So the end result was the guy came back and tried to negotiate and like offer it cheaper, but he was still $150 a month more expensive than we were. Over 5 years, that's $9,000. So I guess where I'm going with this is like we're speaking about, like we saved the client $9,000. We should be proud of that, right?
Yeah, true.
And the client could have gone elsewhere. He could have gone only to this other place, and his financial situation would be $9,000 worse off. So if they do come to us, the fact that we act honestly, transparently, and with speed, is a blessing for the customers.
True.
They could have gone to a dealership and paid full rate with one of their lenders that pay them heaps of commission and stuff. But they came to us. And so for that, like we need to just make sure they're across that. And that case study is a great example. That's just one of hundreds of scenarios every single month that we do.
That's so true.
So yeah. But yeah, like where do you imagine, so you're going to do 3 territories altogether.
Yeah.
Snap Fitness. And where do you imagine Greyfield ends up? Like what's the 5-year plan, so to speak?
That's a good question. With Greyfield, I think the main goal for it is to take over majority market share in New South Wales retail property.
Yeah.
Specifically in shopping centres, in the shopping centre space, multi-tenanted assets, and just scale out a team that has, the top talent in the industry, and build out, the strongest data compared to any other company, so that continues to be our competitive advantage. Because our competitive advantage right now is that, yes, we're a proper retail property company, but we're actually a data company. And, that's the biggest thing that we have as opposed to our competitors, that we have the strongest data. We have the means of getting the data that no one else has. And that's our trade secret that we don't share, not to anybody. And that's how we sort of base the business on from day one, is that, we've got access to all the right people, whether it's landlord side, whether it's tenant side, and we use that to sort of connect the right people with each other. And in 5 years' time, it's just that, we want to, I don't know exactly where it's going to go in terms of, I know exactly what percentage of market share I want, but I just know that what we're doing, we're building something special. It feels right. I'm following that feeling. And a lot of people want to come and work for us. They're enjoying working for us. We've got a good culture. And I just know if we keep hammering away on the micro steps, one foot in front of the other, that we're going to get somewhere good. And I think that the vision of where we want to get to will probably become a little clearer as I go along over the next probably 12 to 18 months. It's at a pivotal point in the business where the team is growing, and sort of my involvement and my business partner's involvement are being outweighed by, the involvement and the responsibility given to the team. So we're at that pivotal point, and I feel like once it gets to, the team taking control of the day-to-day execution more so, as opposed to our input and strategic input on a more micro level, we'll be able to sit back and think, okay, where are we getting to? And that could be wrong, but that's how we've played it so far. but we want to continue to just be a genuine disruptor in the industry and close business at a rate that we have been doing because we just have such a unique message. So we're going to keep on doing that, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And I want to ask a couple of questions, like sort of like I'll try and make them rapid fire, but some of them might need longer responses. So one of the traditions we have on this podcast is that I'm going to get you to do a 60-second pitch. You can pick which business you want to do.
Yeah,
right?
Awesome.
So just letting you get mentally prepared for that. But like, what's the best business advice you've been given, sort of since you started your journey?
That is a tough one.
Or what's something you wish you knew back when you first started that you know now? That's maybe a better way to phrase the question.
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, if I'm thinking in the context of Greyfield and Snap, because they're my most recent endeavors, I'd say leadership-wise, I probably used to micromanage a little bit more than I do now. And it's just, I think I've figured out how to be a leader more so in the last 2 years than I did prior. And the most important thing that I've found is that you sort of have to give people the skills to go and execute without you, and then guide them periodically rather than, the temptation is to guide them on a micro level and daily and really just go to them and sort of woodpeck. And being able to let go has been liberating for me as a business owner to help me to think strategically, and giving off that responsibility to others has been empowering for them as well. And I've found that my retention and the willingness for people to want to achieve and succeed for me and together with me has improved dramatically since I've taken that different approach. So
I think the market has changed. Like previously there was demand for managers because for people who had a skill set of managing or micromanaging, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I think now the market has shifted significantly towards people who want to be working for someone who's an inspirational leader and who does help educate them, who does help, inspire them, does help, sort of. The way it looks to me is that people are looking for someone who they feel genuinely cares.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make somebody feel as though you care when they're being micromanaged. So they just think like you're just nitpicking, and then they're so scared to screw up again that they overthink things and then they screw up as a result.
Right.
Whereas when you take the pressure away and they feel like, yeah, okay, I know that I'm going to do everything to the best of my ability. And if something doesn't go right, I'm not going to, get absolutely scolded for it.
Yeah.
But the leadership part is a skill. Sometimes it comes naturally for people, but I do believe leadership can be learned.
Yes.
And I think like some of the best leaders didn't start out as natural leaders. They cared more about just like focusing on their own things, and it was easier for them. But I don't think leadership is one of those things that like people who want to be leaders, I don't think like that's necessarily a good thing. It usually is like it's almost like an endeavor that you get chosen for. It's not something that you choose, if that makes sense.
No, I agree.
And there's some really skilled leaders that I know that like they would, if you ask them in private, they would much rather just be a much smaller business, with less responsibility, but then they understand that this is a unique journey that not everybody gets the opportunity to do.
True.
So, but yeah, no, that's great. And probably then now we head into the 60-second pitch. So give us your best, why someone, if they're, maybe they've got a commercial property in the retail space, tell us, why they should pick Greyfield.
Right. I thought you were going to be an investor and I was going to pitch to you, but that's okay. No, that's fine. You'll be my client then.
Yeah, client.
Yeah, you're
more
my client. Okay,
yeah.
no, cool. All right. So you've got a retail property. It's underutilized, we'll say. Okay, and then I'm going to pitch you. We'll do it that way. So Julian, you've got this, shopping center out in Western Sydney. We've walked through the property together. There's, you're doing a great job with it currently, but I think that, there's a lot of room for improvement to bring it to highest and best use. And to be honest, when I look at these properties, I look at them through my own lens, as if, I own the shopping center myself. And I can just see that, with our contacts and our relationships, you've got a lot of room for improvement in terms of, increasing rents, doing a bit of a cosmetic uplift, and really maximizing the demand that we can see based on our data for this catchment in this area. And you're leaving, a few $1 million on the table in your asset that, your current agent probably just hasn't extracted the value out of. And we just know that, with our team and our level of execution and our relationships, we can sort of move forward, engage in your asset and bring it to a level where, you currently haven't gotten it to. And I think at the end of the day, retail property is a little bit different in the sense where, you can use your relationships, your creativity, your commercial acumen to influence the value of an asset. And if you are, on the other hand, if you're a bad operator, you can quickly see the value of your asset regress. We'd love to help you.
Brother, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I can just imagine, just judging by this conversation and many others that we've had before, that there's going to be a point in time, maybe in a couple of years, where you're sitting back here and you're going to talk us through all the progress that you made. So think of this as a snapshot in time where you are today, but I've no doubt you'll be on to, you're kicking more goals in your career as well.
Thank you so much. Done, appreciate you so much, Julian. Thank you so much.
No worries, brother. Thank
you. Appreciate it. Thank you.